Welcome back to episode 2 of building a WordPress site from start to finish with the Kadence theme. In this series, I'm showing you exactly how to build a WordPress site with a free theme and free plugins. In episode 1, I showed you how to sign up for web hosting, set up WordPress, and connect your custom domain. I also covered the fundamentals of the WordPress admin dashboard, so if you're brand new to WordPress and you missed episode 1, be sure to watch that first. This entire series is completely free to watch, and that's all thanks to Hostinger. Hostinger provides affordable, powerful web hosting that makes it easy to get started with WordPress. I showed you how to get started with Hostinger in episode 1, including working through the WordPress setup wizard and installing the Kadence theme. You can use my link in the description below to save on your hosting and get the best possible price. Creating this series wouldn't be possible without Hostinger, so be sure to support them and use them for your web hosting needs. Alright, so we're going to dive in and start customizing your site with the Kadence theme. The first thing I'd recommend is installing a starter template that you can use as a base for your website. You don't have to do this, you can build everything from scratch if you want, but if you're new to WordPress, having a starter template that you can use as a base and modify to make it your own makes life much easier. To import a starter template, go to the Appearance tab and go to Kadence, then click where it says Install AI Starter Templates. Now we're given the option of activating Kadence AI starter templates or using classic starter templates. Kadence has an optional AI feature that makes suggestions on colors, fonts, and copy based on your brand name and a description of what you do. If you activate Kadence AI, you'll be asked to fill out a questionnaire with some information about your brand, and then you can access a limited version for free. I'm going to use the classic starter templates for now, as I've had some issues with Kadence AI. It's a brand new feature and they're still working out some of the bugs. When selecting a starter template, make sure it's from the block editor in this drop down right here. You'll see that there's quite a bit of pro options that you have to upgrade to access, so if you want to filter these out, just go to this drop down and select free only. You can see there's quite a few free options as well, so take your time, scroll through, find one that catches your eye, and if you want to see more about a starter template, you can click it, and this allows you to access every page in the template. So I can scroll the full home page, see what that looks like. I can also click to the other pages, and when we import a starter template, we're going to have the option of getting all of these pages. So I'll get the template for home, about, portfolio, blog, everything that you see on the menu. You can also play around with different colors and fonts. By clicking here, you can see what these different styles look like, and it's important to note that this is just a starting point. You're not restricted to the colors and fonts in the style starter right here. You can change it to anything you want after you import the template. I like a lot of the elements in the interior design template, so I'm going to get started with this one, but you don't need to choose this exact template to follow along. My goal in this course is to give you a true understanding of how WordPress, Kadence, and the blocks editor actually work. You'll walk away with the knowledge to make any starter template your own and even build pages from scratch. So I'm going to pick a color pairing and font pairing that I like, and then once I find something I want, I'll proceed to the next step, and I'm going to import the full site. If you only want to import one page, you can say only import select page, and then you can pick the exact one you'd like to import, but I'm just going to import the full site. Now Kadence will let you know which plugins are required to use your starter template. In my case, it's just Kadence blocks, and we're going to need this plugin no matter what with any starter template. If you picked an e-commerce template, it may also ask you to install WooCommerce, but for me, it's just Kadence blocks, so I'll click finish and install. While you're waiting for that to finish, now would be a great time to hit that subscribe button. It's free to subscribe and click the bell, and you'll be the first to know when I release new videos. When the import is done, you can click See My Site, and we can see everything was imported successfully. I can go check all the different pages, and everything loads as expected. So if you want to change the fonts and colors of your website, we can do that in the Customize screen we looked at in the last episode. I'm just going to navigate there now. It's under Appearance and Customize. And the first setting we want to go to is colors and fonts. Starting with colors, we see the global palette we selected when we imported the starter template. If we want to get back to those predefined options, we can select this folder here, and select some different palettes to see how they look on the website, including a couple that are kind of like a dark mode. Now, we can change every single one of these colors, but before you start changing them to a bunch of random colors, it's important to understand what the global palette is and the role that each color plays. The first two colors are your accent colors. These should be bright, fun colors that represent your brand and will help elements stand out on the page. If you don't have two distinct accent colors, it's okay to have one main accent color and make the second accent color a lighter version, and that can be useful when hovering links. You don't necessarily have to have two completely different accent colors. The next four colors are going to be your contrast colors. So if you're using a light page background, the four contrast colors are going to be dark. If you are using a dark page background, the four contrast colors are going to be light. So after these four contrast colors, we have our three background colors. And you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. If we select a dark mode theme, you'll notice that the three background colors are dark and the four contrast colors are light. Now, the purpose of the slightly different shades of contrast colors and background colors is just to add some variety to the page. So here we see that the home page is currently selected and it's using this lightest contrast color because the text is not as emphasized since it's selected or clicked. We don't want it to be as prevalent on the page. So that's a perfect use case of the lighter contrast color. We can also see this text right here that says Kate and Jack. It's less important in the overall design, so it's using one of those lighter contrast colors. I've put in my two accent colors, and whenever you make a change in the customize screen, it's important to publish your changes. This is what is going to save those changes, and it's really easy to change a bunch of things, forget to click publish and close the tab, and you never want to make that mistake. So make sure you click publish periodically, or if you're not ready for the changes to go live yet, you can click the settings icon and either save it as a draft or schedule the changes to go out at a later date. But typically, if I'm just making little tweaks like this, I'll just hit the publish button and let the changes go live right away. One thing I'd like to emphasize is the purpose of this globe icon. You're going to see it throughout the customize screen, and it just means that the color selected for this element is mapped to a color in your global palette. So right here for links color, I can see that I'm pulling from the primary accent color. I can select any of the colors in my global palette, and it is still going to show this globe icon because it's mapped to that variable. Now, if I change this color here, you see that the globe icon down here goes away. And that's because I'm hard coding the color into the links element. So in other words, if I choose not to use a global color, every single time I have a change and I want to change the links color or the button color, I'm going to have to go into every single element and change those colors. Whereas if I have a globe selected, if I'm pulling from the global palette, now if my brand color changes and instead of purple, it's now orange, all I have to do is go back to my global palette, change this accent color to orange, and then every element that is pulling from that accent variable will automatically change to orange. So this avoids me having to go to my links, my buttons, my other blocks, like anything that was using purple and change it in a bunch of places. If I'm careful about the design and use the global palette as much as possible, that means I can make tweaks to the brand colors down the road, and it's going to be so much easier to instantly make the changes on the pages. The typography customization works much the same. We can see the use of global colors right here, and we can see that we have a base font for the whole website, and then we have a heading font family, and all the subheading options are inheriting that font. So we could change the one font family, and then all the other font headings under it will pull from that main font. And if we want to see what these look like, we can just press the little drop down right here, which is super helpful. When I was new to Kadence, I thought there was no way to preview what the font looked like, but actually you can just select your font and you can see what it looks like in this section right here. Now I want to explore the customization options for the header. Kadence gives us a lot of control over the header, and it's quite simple to modify. Let's go to the header tab and let's start with our logo. Here you can change the logo if you'd like. This just opens the media library that we talked about in the last episode, where you can access images that you've already uploaded to your site, or you can just go to the Upload Files tab if you want to upload a new image. And then other things we can change in the logo would include the layout. So we've got our site title and tagline. By default, just your logo is displayed, but you could decide to display the logo and title, or the logo, title, and tagline. And you can also decide where the tagline and title are displayed in relation to the logo. Personally, I think this is a bit unnecessary. I prefer it to just be the logo and the header, but the option is there if you're interested in making that change. If you would like to set a favicon for your site, which I would highly recommend, you can do so under Site Icon, and then this just opens the media library and lets you upload the icon. Now, this is what the site icon or favicon is, the little icon in your browser tab that is associated with a website. So I would highly recommend setting a site icon. It makes your site stand out a lot more rather than having this default globe icon. For the structure of the header, Kadence gives us 3 rows to play with. We have the top row, the main row, and the bottom row. And as you can see, all we're using right now is the main row. So there's elements within each row, and there's 3 sections: left, center, and right. And you can drag the elements wherever you'd like. So let's say I drag this logo to the center. We can see that change instantly here in the customize screen. And that doesn't look very good, but if I wanted to roll with a centered menu look, I would probably want to move the logo to the top row and then move the primary navigation to this center section. It's looking great already, but you probably noticed this looks a little odd. There's no padding above our logo. So what we can do here is go to the settings on the top row, and we have 2 choices. We can either edit the minimum height, or we can leave our minimum height alone and go over to design, and then we can control the padding. So the first one is our top padding. We can just add a little bit of padding here, and the header is looking much better. If you'd like to add an item that's not already in your header, you can choose from the available items section. There's search, buttons, secondary navigation, HTML. So if I wanted to add a button, maybe a call to action button next to primary navigation, I can just drop that in right here. We see the button is added. And to change the settings of an item, I'll just click on the settings gear. Here I can set my button's URL. I can go over to the design and I can change that up. Maybe I want to make this smaller, or if I want it to be larger, I can do that as well. And I can also decide if I want it to be an outline or filled. And you can see right here, it's pulling from the global color palette. So I can go into my design if I'd like to change this, and I can hard code a different color. But if I leave that globe icon selected, whenever I change the accent color in the global palette later, this button is automatically going to update without me having to come into the header, go to this button specifically, and change the color right here. Now, one thing I'd like to point out is that there is a separate menu layout for mobile. So if I click tablet/mobile, we're able to see what that looks like. We have our logo on the main row, and then our trigger, which is our hamburger menu. I can click the trigger and we get this mobile menu right here. That's this that says off canvas and mobile navigation. So if I wanted to, I could add a button to the off canvas section. That's going to update it, and that will be below our menu. And this button and all of these items are disconnected from the desktop menu. So if I had a button here, I style it, I set the URL, that is a completely separate button from any button that I may add on desktop. So just keep that in mind. You're kind of going to have to build your menu twice, but it's worth it to have full, complete control over mobile versus desktop. One common design choice for a header is to make it sticky, and we can do that in Kadence by scrolling down and going to Sticky Header. What that does is it makes the header stick to the top of the page as we scroll. Right now you see when we scroll, the header just goes away. It's fixed at the top of the page, but if we want it to be sticky, we can say yes, and we have a couple of options here. There's only the main row, top and main row, whole header, only top row, only bottom row. So let's say we do the whole header. This is the most basic form of a sticky header. We scroll, the header stays, it's right at the top, we can access it whenever we need to. But you may notice on some websites that do this, as you scroll, the header gets a little smaller, so it's not taking up so much room on the page. And I think that makes a big difference with the user experience. So what I would do is start by setting this to only the main row. And that means that the logo is going to go away as we scroll because the logo is in our top row. So that just consolidates things. It means that the header takes up less room. And if you wanted to take this a step further, you could check this switch here that says enable main row shrinking. And that way, as we scroll, the main row gets even thinner and it's not taking up a lot of room on the page. It's not going to bother us as we're scrolling the page. Another option you can do is enable the reveal sticky on scroll up. And what that does is makes the header disappear completely as you scroll. But when you start to scroll up, the header kind of comes back. So that's an option that you could consider. Some themes and some websites do that. Personally, I'm kind of a fan of either having the header sticky or just not having it sticky, because with this, you're kind of playing that game of like trying to figure out what you have to do to get the header to come back as the user. But it's cool to see that you have this option, and there's a separate option for a sticky header on mobile as well. So you can see how powerful Kadence is with all of the options it gives you. Another common design choice on websites is to have transparent headers. This is for sites that have big, bold hero images at the top of the page, and you want your site's logo and menu to be on top of the image. You don't want a white rectangle behind it. You want it to blend in with the page. This is not a good starter template to showcase what that really looks like, but I'll have some B-roll on the screen to show what a transparent header looks like. And if that's something you'd like to do for your website, you can enable it right here. To modify how the menu items actually look, we can go to primary navigation, and there's a couple options we have. We can modify the item spacing. We can also go to design and decide if we want an underline under the item that's currently selected. You can adjust colors, fonts, everything like that. We can also go to drop-down options. So right here, when I hover over pages, there's a drop-down with more pages. You can adjust the animation if you'd like, fade down, fade up. You can also adjust the design if you want to change the color of your drop-down background. Here, once again, we have a great example of the global styling being used. And once again, it's going to make things so much easier if we update the brand colors down the road, if we're able to utilize these global colors as much as possible. Now, how do we actually edit which menu items are on the page? To do this, we need to go back out to the main Customize screen and go to Menus. Now, WordPress allows you to have multiple menus mapped to different areas. Right now we have one called Menu that's mapped to the primary menu and the mobile off-canvas menu. We also have a footer menu that is currently set to the footer. So we want to edit the main menu, that's this one, and we can see all of our pages here that are on the menu, and we can see what this drop-down structure looks like. The pages are kind of indented under where it says pages here. So if you want a page to be part of a drop-down, you will click it, and as you're clicking and dragging, you can see there's kind of an outline behind it. It's a little bit hard to see, but it's a dotted line. And as I drag this to the right, you can see it sort of snaps into that indented view. So if I leave the contact page here, now it's indented. That means that it's going to be under the pages drop down on the menu, as you can see right here. And I can take this a step further. I can indent it again, and that's going to make a drop down within a drop down. So you can get quite creative with these menus and build them out to have a lot of different options. If you want a menu item to open in a new tab, just click this drop down and check the box to open the link in a new tab. And if you'd like to add a new item to the menu, click the Add Items button, and you can select from your WordPress pages here. We've already got all of our pages added to the menu. Or if you want to link out to something like a social media page or a page that's not part of your website, an external URL, you can just go to Custom Links, type your URL here, type your link text, and click Add to Menu. It's important to note that new pages you create in WordPress are not automatically added to your menu. You will still have to go into the screen, click Add Items, and select your newly created page right here and add it to your menu. If you want to change this and you want new pages to automatically be added to your menu, you'll need to scroll down and check this box that says automatically add new top level pages to this menu. And once again, anytime you make a change, don't forget to hit that publish button. By the way, if you have any questions about Kadence as you build your site, I'm always available to chat in my Discord server. I help out as much as I can, and you can also get help from other members of the community. I'll have it linked below if you're interested in joining. Once you're comfortable customizing the header, customizing your footer will feel familiar. You'll see that there's 3 rows, just like with the header. I have to scroll down to reveal them all, but right now we've got the copyright in the bottom row, the footer navigation menu, which is currently empty, that's why we're not seeing anything, and then we have this widget, which is also empty. So there's 6 widget areas that we can choose from, and we can also pull social icons. So I could put a widget area here, I could put a widget area here. And these widget areas are essentially mini block sections. So as we get into the block editor, you'll see that there's different blocks you can choose from to build your page. You can access all of the same blocks in widget sections. So I'm going to click the edit icon here on widget 1, and we have basically a mini blocks editor. I can add a block, and there's so many things I can choose from: paragraph, quote, image, heading. I can click browse all, and you can see just how many blocks you can choose from. I'm just going to pick text here, and I'll say this is my heading, and then you see it update on the page in the widget area. I can add as many blocks as I like in one widget zone, so I can upload an image if I want. In fact, I'm just going to select this from my media library. I'll just put a logo here. And then you can see that we can reorder these blocks by clicking and dragging. So you can build out a single widget area to have a lot of information, and you can have up to 6 widget areas on your footer. And similar to the header, you can click the settings icon on any row and adjust the layout. So you can decide how big you want each section to be. You can add columns if you want to add more widgets. There's really a lot you can do to customize the footer and make it your own. And if you'd like to see how your footer looks on mobile, you can just click this phone icon right here, and then that's going to shrink the page down, and you can get a feel for how the responsive design works. If you're enjoying the course and you're looking forward to the next episode, the remaining episodes are available exclusively on Craylor Academy. It's still totally free to watch, so go to the link below to continue the course when you finish this episode. Now that we've gone through the bulk of the customized screen, I want to discuss the fundamentals of the block editor. Just like we covered the basics of the admin dashboard in the last episode, understanding the basics of the block editor and page structure will make it effortless to build pages. So from the admin dashboard, let's navigate to Pages and All Pages. I'm just going to select our home page and click Edit. The Blocks editor gives you a live preview of what the page looks like. It's kind of like editing a Word document. I can just select some text, highlight it, and make my changes. You can also drag and drop blocks to reorder them. So I can select my heading right here and I can move it above my image, or I can select my paragraph and I can move it below my image. And you can see that it's actually pretty easy to completely ruin the design as you're dragging blocks around. So I would not recommend reordering blocks in this way on a complicated page like this. Instead, I would only drag and drop blocks like that if it's a blog post and you're just moving paragraphs and images around and not a complex layout. Instead, the best way to get a clear picture of the layout of a complex design like this is by clicking this button right here. This document overview will open a list of all of the rows, all of the sections, and all of the elements within that row. So right here, I have this row layout. Within the row layout, I have 2 sections, the section with the text, the section with the images, and I can open any section to see what's beneath it. So within the section, I have another row with 2 more sections that have the text items, And then I've got the headings, I've got the button, and this section right here has our 2 images. You can click and drag items to reorder them or move them to different sections and rows, and this is the method I would recommend when you need to reorganize something on the page instead of clicking and dragging out here, because you saw earlier how easily it broke the design. With a layout this complicated, it makes a lot more sense to reorder items within sections and within rows instead of potentially grabbing the whole row and moving it somewhere you didn't mean to. For any item, I can access the settings associated with that block by selecting the block and looking in the right sidebar. I can adjust the heading tag, I can go to the style and select the color, font size, line height. There's also an advanced tab for things like margin. So anytime you want to make a change to any block, you're going to click the block and you're going to go to the right sidebar, and this is where you can make your changes. If I want to add a new block, I can click this plus button and select from the many available options. And if you want to view what your page looks like on a mobile device, you can click this little laptop right here and choose from tablet view or mobile view. As you can see, the blocks editor is very powerful and there's a lot to dive into. In episode 3, we're going to get into building pages, both from pre-made sections and from scratch. Episode 3 is available exclusively on Craylor Academy, so go to the link in the description below to continue the course. It's 100% free.